Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Emily Wishall of Wishall Wellness, and this is my February of 2020 interview series with women leaders, and I'm really excited today. Today, I am interviewing Erin Keeley. Erin is with Scarlet Consulting Group, and she is a executive consultant and interpersonal coach who works with startups and tech companies. And she also does do some one-on-one coaching individually with women. So within the executive consulting and interpersonal coaching, you do culture engineering. So I'm culture engineering is such an interesting term to me. Yeah, what does that mean?
Yeah, it's I've been told it's a good conversation starter. So
it is a good. Do you ever go to a party and say I'm a culture engineer?
Yeah, let's see what happens when I say this. Yeah. Well, it basically means that specifically when I go into businesses, I'm going to go in and help a company engineer their culture into intentional culture to foster healthy relationships, healthy teams, employee retention, and employee productivity. So,
awesome.
And we'll do that. And the reason I like using the word engineering is because I can do that in any number of ways. I'm trained to be able to teach behavioral skills, communication skills, but then if the systems are causing the problems, not the people or the skills, then we need to look at that. So,
so it sounds like you can have like a really broad spectrum or myriad approach of what that might actually look like individually with different companies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know I can speak personally. I did a consulting session with Erin last spring, so almost a year ago. And what I was really that I took away from it and was really profound to me is Erin's ability to see patterns quickly and really recognize that and shed light on a lot of different blind spots within my own makeup and my own personality, and also help me see, some of the things that might be my greatest fears. Not that I need to overcome them, but help create safety nets or ways that actually let's just protect you from that, which actually helped my whole nervous system, me just kind of relax, I don't have to just keep conquering my fears.
I don't have to be enlightened to grow a business.
Yeah, and I could see then how when you're working with a company with multiple people, how useful that is. I mean, for me, just by myself, it was so valuable. But I'd be curious, if you want to share maybe just an example of a team that you've supported and kind of what that looked like in helping them create more cohesiveness together as a unit.
Yeah, that was a lot. It has me curious which fears, but I'm not going to corner you.
I'm not going to share.
Yeah. Just we call it guard railing in business.
Yes, that was the word, yeah.
And specifically when I do business consulting, transformation, deep psychological soul transformation, takes a long time. They say it takes a minimum of 2 years once you start to do that kind of work. And so if I go into a business and I only have 3 to 6 months or maybe a year with them, and I've got 15 managers, a C-suite team, and 100 employees to deal with, we're not going to be changing everybody.
Yeah.
What's more effective is to really look at what everybody is gifted at what they are trained in, and get them in their right roles and basically put the puzzle pieces together.
Okay.
So if they have a huge fear that's getting triggered every day, their brain will be going into fight or flight constantly, and they basically can't do their job. So sure, go work on it, in therapy or whatever it is that you're going to go do, but at work, let's protect you and put you in a place where you can go ahead and just start thriving, because everybody has, if they hired you, chances are you've got gifts already. Just go ahead and go for it.
It feels so valuable to me to be able to see that and set those structures up.
It's fun too, because often people, if people are getting triggered on a day-to-day basis, they will also get down on themselves. And
totally,
if you say to them, hey, it's okay, let's just put you in an envelope that works for you.
Yeah.
And then they start to actualize their potential naturally. Usually they're pretty happy about that.
I would imagine so. I like how you language that, actualize their potential naturally. What is that?
Without
Actualize
forcing
their
it.
potential. APN.
Oh,
My acronym of 2020. So you work a lot with leadership, and being that this is, interview series with women leaders, I'm always curious kind of, and of course you work with men as well in the business consulting realm, but bring the conversation a little bit into kind of everything that you just shared and that culture engineering, but then from that feminine leadership role and mode. I went to a talk that Erin gave last fall. It was called The Third Wave of Feminism. And it was fascinating. We won't go into all of that because that was a lot, but it was fascinating how you weaved in so much lineage, especially specific yogic lineage in, was it Southern India or Northern India? I don't remember. Southern India. And just different goddesses lineage, and how, I'm going on a tangent. I'll let you pick it up from there.
Is it the third wave of feminism and how that leads into the feminine leadership topic that we're going to?
Yeah, and how that you see that weaving into when you're wanting to help a business and their culture flourish. What does that, how does that show up there?
So I don't tell a lot of businesses this, but I think it's totally fine to put it out there. What the millennials are asking for in terms of a leadership style is actually more similar to what I would say the third wave of feminism is teaching, which is just it's a craving for the relational realm, which means that people aren't playing power games with each other. It means that we're not in hierarchies where some people have agency, psychological agency, and some people don't. Specifically, what I'm finding is the millennials will just leave a job if they don't sense that their manager lets them stay in their seed center, in their agency, in their, some people might call it their empowerment, and they're allowed to have their voice.
So if they see themselves if they see that their manager just doesn't let them be them, or they are micromanaging, people might use that term maybe.
It's a subtle thing to explain to people, but micromanaging is a really good way to put it. More of the authoritarian leadership where everything is negative consequences. You better do what I told you to do because I told you to do it, and don't ask me why. If you have an innovative idea on how we might run this project more smoothly, I don't want to hear it from you. Just do your job.
Got it.
That kind of leadership style is outdated. From what I've studied, it really only works in the military, and it works in assembly line culture. And it's sort of still happening in corporate America, and it's actually not very efficient. And nobody really likes that.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good to me. And just as you're languaging that, I feel like it's seeming like a very belittling kind of more of a leadership. Yeah.
So the third wave of feminism is all about how do we grow in relationship, not in solidarity. So you and I in an interaction, one of us doesn't need to be posturing and one of us doesn't need to be collapsing. We can both be in our gifts, and we can each have our expertise and teach each other, right?
And that example of that dynamic you shared earlier of the manager kind of micromanaging or telling the employee what to do, would that be that example, like one has to be posturing and one is collapsing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really resonate with that languaging of the posturing and collapsing, specifically like with the Rolfing work that I do. And just seeing that in different, more I would say as I go about my daily life, and just sometimes every now and then I capture somebody in the street or in an interaction, and just seeing that show up through their body. It's very interesting. And I'm sure I'm going to notice that more now that we've languaged it in that way. Yeah.
As soon as I was given the words for it, I went, that's what I've been noticing and bothered by for so long I didn't have the words for.
Awesome. Yeah. And you shared earlier, before we went on here, I'm fumbling.
That's all right.
Erin asked earlier if we make a mistake if we pause, and I was like, nope, we just keep going. And here I am, the one who's fumbling. That's fun. It's all welcome. So on how you started actually as a gymnastics teacher, if you want to kind of weave into that, because I feel like that, we were talking about integrity.
Yeah.
And to me, when I think of integrity, there's a Gandhi quote that is, when what you think, what you say, and what you do are all in alignment. That's how we defined integrity. And I mean, I don't know if he actually said it, but that's the source that I found. So I'm sure he said something along that framework. But that really resonates with me. And I think it seems the work that you do with leaders and businesses is really helping weave that integrity into the culture and to each individual. Yes, if you don't mind sharing kind of an example, or even when you were starting out as a gymnastics coach.
Yeah, sure. Well, first, I just wanted to speak to, there could be so many different definitions for the word integrity, right? Like, what does that really mean? I like what you just quoted. I'll teach it on the team level. So if a group, I'll come in and help them set up team norms and cultural norms, then they all get to have their voice in. I'll give recommendations, but then everyone at some point has to agree, yes, we're a team, and yes, these are the norms we're following. And if we break a norm, we agree to repair with each other, and this is how we'll do it. And so that's how I teach integrity.
So they're setting it up, the framework of how, the context of how they work together, kind of within you.
Yeah, and how they're going to psychologically approach each other even. I agree to honor myself and honor you. I agree to be in honesty. I'm giving examples. Up to a certain point, and sometimes honesty isn't beneficial for the team if it's going to detract from honoring you or honoring our goal. Right? Things like that. So it's like, okay, we decide as a team what are our norms, and then can we walk our talk? I guess I love that you asked to talk about integrity today, because I think that there's a big need for more discussion around it, especially looking at what's happening in our country politically. And gosh, coming from the yoga industry before, looking at all the guru scandals and toxicity in certain industries that preach spirituality but aren't really doing it.
And I feel my experience of that, maybe those industries, or from what I've learned of the different gurus, it's creating that culture of posturing and collapse.
Totally.
Versus a place where, my languaging would be, we get to resonate, communicate human to human.
Yes. Yeah. Right. And when you have that hierarchy, if somebody at the top is out of integrity, the person at the bottom is not allowed to tell them they're out of integrity.
Yes.
So that's
there's not permission to call people out.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yep. So back to the gymnastics coaching. My first introduction to coaching, I got asked to start coaching gymnastics when I was 15, and maybe I was even 14, preschoolers or something. And eventually I ended up having a niche of coaching high school girls. And there's nothing like working with teenagers to teach you how to foster. My role was to take a freshman and foster her into leadership by the time she was a senior. And that meant that I couldn't be in an authoritarian role, because then they wouldn't have their own agency to grow into. So, and teenagers really don't want authoritarian, or at least these were millennials I was working with anyways. They really didn't want that kind of leadership. So I think they're the ones who taught me, this idea around how to just stay in equilibrium with our power with each other, even though I was the expert around the technique.
That's a nice way to frame the equilibrium of power, but there's still respect for who is the expertise in that particular area, and honoring that. I bet that's what a powerful experience for those teenage girls too.
Yeah, I miss them.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Is there any else thing that you'd like to say or share when it comes to Well, I'm sure, like insight or suggestion or tip. I mean, this will be going live February 2020, so it's still, new in the year. And so this might be a nice time for, if anyone watching this has created New Year intentions, goals, resolutions, whatever you're calling it for yourself. I think maybe weaving your work and wisdom, in integrity, in communication. If there are any exercises or things that you do to help yourself stay in check and to kind of check in with your own body, own system, that helps you notice when you're maybe not here, not home, not centered within you. I'd love if anything comes to mind to share around that.
Yeah.
That's a big
question. And we were originally talking about embodiment and the seed center. And
before we got started, we were having a conversation around, which maybe if you don't mind sharing what the seed center, I think a lot of people don't know what that might be. Yeah,
it's a subtle thing. I would say, low belly center. I think that's why, core power yoga named themselves core power. Ultimately, yoga is supposed to teach you, and qigong and these other activities are supposed to teach you to access that power center. But I feel like when we really land in it, then that posture collapse game isn't really possible between people. Where were we going with this? For 2020.
Yeah, or if you have a suggestion or a way for maybe people to connect with that center. For me, I think we're talking about similar centers, but I think of it as as a female, as my womb space, kind of totally. Center point of my pelvis, deep, and the center of my body. And what I've experienced of when I've landed there, the voice of I'm not enough, or that comparison voice, it just doesn't exist there. Yeah. Which has been fascinating me. So I don't have to work as hard at the limiting beliefs and I am enough. Realize when I'm here, I just know.
So you can't collapse.
So I can't collapse because we're just here and we just get to relate and be together. But that feels like a really strong and awesome thing. If you have any words or ways that that you use yourself of how you connect there, or I would love to help other people kind of connect and find it.
I actually have a different tool that seems to produce the same effect that I could give real quickly. I just came up with this. But at the beginning of the individual sessions that I do with women, I'll lead them through a short meditation to access this place that we're talking about. And the quicker I access it as a coach, then I can it's contagious, right? When we sit with each other. Because then they start to feel like, oh, I don't have to collapse with this person or posture. It's actually okay just to be where I'm at. So all it is if you can tune into a place in your body that feels really, really neutral. And it's usually a place of your body that's not speaking loudly. If you go into finding that place, sometimes it's in an odd place.
I know, I'm thinking of, I'm the bottom of my feet, totally. My elbow.
My left shin. So I always have a left shin or a forearm, a strange place like that. And if you can close your eyes and zone in on those kinds of sensations that are in a neutral zone and let them, and turn up the volume of them, and then allow it to slowly start to spread out throughout your body. And you can have achy, painful, stuck places too, but allowing those places to be in contact or conversation with neutral sensations. And allowing yourself to breathe, and also feeling your weight down in that seed center in your hips at the same time. And ultimately, if you can welcome the neutral sensations, you're welcoming the visceral sensation of peace and ease and clarity. For some people experience it as calm or joy or pleasure. And scientifically, there's some proof that shows that this gives us access to our prefrontal cortex, which is the adult psyche, which allows us to be in healthy relationships with each other.
Awesome. I was going to ask what the prefrontal cortex does if people don't know, but Decision making, executive functioning,
clarity instead of like certainty.
Yes. And that
Curiosity.
feels so different, that clarity versus that certainty.
Yeah.
When you just gave that example, so different in my mind and in my body. And even just doing that practice, I love going to those more, did you say neutral? What did you did say neutral. Neutral places. And even if there is pain or aching, is letting them meet up. So it's, I'm not trying to get rid of pain. I'm not trying to get rid of tension. You're just going to neutral and just checking in and noticing how my whole body did relax, how I became so much more present and did feel a lot more clarity. And that's so powerful in decision making. I have gotten a lot better in the last year, but this is something I need continuous reminder and continuous reminders of. But I can get so lost in my to-do list or computer and in that like certainty, like I'm just gonna do it. And
type A.
it is as much as sometimes my little brain wants to tell me it's efficient, it's not efficient. Being here and actually taking the 30 seconds, however long that was, it's not long at all. That's so much power. And so thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for bringing it up. I feel better too.
And that feels like a really beautiful way too to stay in integrity. Because you're checking in and more aware of what's real. Yeah, real. And
your definition of integrity is also what I've heard as the definition of authenticity as well.
Like
our words match our energy, match our facial expressions, match what our actions
all are. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great practice, and I would really invite anybody, especially this is probably coming out like 6 weeks into the new year, to kind of reconnect and use this to help connect with those intentions or resolutions or goals, and achieving them and seeing them. Is there anything else you want to share around that?
No, I think that I love that you acknowledged that there's such a big difference between clarity and certainty.
Every time the certainty, it's interesting, I'm noticing this little zzz in my body, and I'm like, I don't want that.
So funny.
It's a very big,
I call myself a clarity coach as well. My job is to continually help a client get back to clarity and then make their own decisions. I can help with action steps, but ultimately the clarity's got to come from you. And what a gift. And it seems like you are completely doing that with the teams and the businesses you're working with, helping them get that clarity of vision, and even just clarity amongst how do they want to operate and communicate with each other and have that common language so that they can stay in integrity. Because also when that isn't set, then especially in that team dynamic, it's harder to know, maybe when they're in integrity or not if they haven't created those common agreements. Yeah, exactly. Because your idea of integrity is probably very different than a teammate's. Well, how can people stay, in contact with you, learn more about your work? Well, I have a website, and I have an email list, and I also you could message me from my website, but I offer anybody who's interested in my work a discovery call, a free coaching session, basically. Oh, awesome. Where we can dig in, and I basically help the person get clarity on the call, and I also get clarity at the same time, and we see if we're a match. Oh, great. I do like to really stay in integrity, so if I think that I am not a fit for somebody, I will. I'm a big networker, and I'll recommend something else. That is amazing, because I know this. Not everyone does that. Not many people do that. So I have a lot of respect that you stay aligned and true to that. So what is your website? ScarletConsultingGroup.com. Okay, Scarlet. So I'll have a link at the bottom of this video, so you can directly head to that. And especially if you resonated with anything kind of in the video or that Erin shared, or want to dig a little deeper, or if you felt something come up for you, I would really invite you to take her up on the discovery call. It'd be a great time to either get more information on that, or just receive some clarity yourself. And then for any women who might want to work with me one-on-one, just like you did, I offer an introductory deep dive.
I highly recommend it.
So we can really dig in and see.
Yeah, go ahead and share more. Sorry, I didn't mean to about the deep dive.
The goal is to really circle you and get into the depth of your being and your personality and your soul presence, but also the practical things like what skills have you learned throughout your life that maybe you forgot about. And
I forgot about a lot. I was like, I don't know. I mean, that's true. So, yeah. It's
Oh, and then I was going to say that, and I usually the women that I work with, I end up helping them. I either end up getting directed towards a business and going into the business, or I end up helping with career or business development plan, but also the relationships in their life. I'm a trained relationship coach, and I can't actually tease apart career path and relationship growth. I actually think they have to go together. I
completely agree with that. Yeah, and that's a good distinction too. I'm glad you shared that part. Yeah, awesome. Well, could we give one? I know we talked a lot about integrity, kind of gave some examples.
Yeah.
But maybe just we could summarize one point that we made, or if another example, I'd love to know, like, what is an example for you of in your daily life, how you live in integrity?
In my daily life.
It's a big question.
Since we're talking about women leadership, I'm working with a lot of younger women right now, one-on-one coaching, and then oftentimes when I go into businesses, there's a lot of people under 30. And specifically, I guess I've already talked about this a little bit, but it's specifically, I feel strongly, like when we worked together, I don't know how much older than you I am, but more than 10 years. I feel strongly about walking the talk that I'm talking about, and letting you be in your own agency and helping you find your own niche. And literally, I'm hoping that you're going to pass me someday, whatever that means. But at some point I'm going to get old and plateau, and I hope you keep going. So I have that in mind while I'm really working, specifically with younger women.
Have in mind that you don't want to show up in a way that has them feel even subtly like they have to collapse, kind of the way we're on even playing field.
Totally.
Yeah.
And if they have to keep going to me for all the answers, I'm not doing my job.
That's a really powerful statement. Yeah. So really helping them see that within themselves. Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's a great takeaway, I think, of us all thinking, first example that came to me is even just the person that checks me out at the grocery store.
Oh, right.
Thinking of this example, though, that you just shared of like, do I see my, I think I often, who knows what I do when I'm checking out, but I've been trying to be more intentional and just even weaving in what you just shared about how when you're coaching, particularly women who are younger than you, of helping make sure that we're all feeling even, that there's not that collapsing and posturing, which could happen in a myriad dynamics while we're still respecting each other's expertise or where we're at. So that could even happen, with the clerk at the grocery store, or the server at the restaurant, of how do I get to be in integrity in that relationship with those that are in service to me. So
awesome. Another easy way to put it is your soul is just as important as my soul.
Yes.
I just maybe have a few extra years and some training.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's one thing to say that, and then to actually really
feel it
and walk it.
Yeah.
It's a bold, I think, decision, and continuously checking in. I think checking in with that seed center is really valuable to help staying consistent with that.
Totally.
Awesome.
Thank you, Emily.
Well, thank you, Erin. Thank you so much. I really appreciated getting to connect with you and learn more. And I know that I took a lot away from this conversation. I really did. So I hope everyone watching did as well. And look forward to hearing any comments, any thoughts, and definitely reach out to Erin for any sort of support, or if you want more information from today's talk. And her website, scarletconsultinggroup.com, will be linked. So happy February 2020.
Yay 2020.
Yeah. Thank you, Erin.
Thanks, Emily.
Bye-bye, everyone.